You finally have a free afternoon. No meetings, no deadlines, no one asking anything of you. And instead of feeling relieved, something strange happens. You feel restless, maybe a little anxious, like you should be doing something, but you don't know what. You open your phone, close it, open it again, you sit down and almost immediately feel like getting up. And by the time the afternoon is over, you feel more drained than if you had just worked through it. This is not a personal failure. It is not a sign that you are broken or addicted to busyness. What you experienced is actually a well-documented psychological pattern, and it happens to a significant number of people who lead structured, goal-oriented lives. Understanding why it happens does not fix it, but it does explain something that most people quietly wonder about themselves. The most common explanation people reach for is that they are simply too used to being busy. The logic makes intuitive sense. If your life is full of tasks, maybe your nervous system gets stuck in high gear and cannot slow down. That story is comfortable because it points to a cause outside of you, a lifestyle, a schedule, a culture. And while there is some truth in that, it does not fully explain what is actually happening in your mind during unstructured time. The deeper issue is not about speed. It is about how the brain relates to goals, structure, and a sense of direction. Research in cognitive and behavioral psychology suggests that the human mind naturally orients itself around intentions. When you have a clear task, your attention has somewhere to go. There is a built-in framework that tells your brain what is relevant, what to ignore, and what success looks like. Free time does not come with that framework. And without it, the mind does not automatically relax, it starts scanning. This scanning behavior is one of the less talked about aspects of how attention works. When there is no goal to organize your focus, the brain defaults to a kind of low-level search mode. It is not looking for anything specific. It is just looking. And that process, even though it is not strenuous, is not restful either. It generates a background hum of unease that many people interpret as boredom, anxiety, or guilt. The guilt piece is particularly interesting. Many adults, especially those who have spent years in achievement-oriented environments, develop a deep and largely unconscious association between rest and unproductivity. On a cognitive level, they know rest is acceptable. But on a felt level, sitting still without output triggers something that resembles discomfort. Research into what psychologists sometimes call the resting state suggests that even when people are told to relax, their minds frequently drift toward unfinished tasks, future obligations, or self-evaluation. The mind does not naturally find stillness. It finds problems to solve. Think about a typical Saturday afternoon with nothing scheduled. You might start with good intentions, maybe a book, maybe a walk, maybe just sitting outside. Within a short period, a familiar sequence begins. You think about something you forgot to do during the week. You wonder if you are using this free time well enough. You feel a vague pull toward being productive in some way, even if that means organizing a drawer or answering a non-urgent email. The free time starts to feel like another task you are not completing correctly. This is where the experience becomes genuinely uncomfortable to sit with, because what it reveals is that for many people, the experience of rest has become conditional. It feels acceptable only when it is earned, scheduled, or brief. When it arrives unexpectedly or in large amounts, the mind does not know what to do with it. It treats the open space not as a gift, but as a gap that needs to be filled. There is also something worth understanding about the role of identity in this. For many adults, especially in professional or academic environments, doing things is deeply tied to who they feel they are. Being a person who works, who creates, who achieves, is not just a behavior. It becomes part of a self-concept. Free time, then, does not just feel empty. It can feel disorienting, because the usual markers of identity are temporarily removed. Research on self-continuity and psychological identity suggests that people are uncomfortable when they lose access to the roles and activities that confirm who they are, even briefly. None of this means that free time is secretly bad for you, or that you should stop trying to take it. That would be the wrong conclusion. What it means is that the assumption built into the concept of free time, that the absence of demands automatically produces rest, is not quite accurate. Rest is its own psychological state, and for many people it is not the default setting that kicks in when work stops. This is also not a claim that everyone experiences free time this way. There are genuine individual differences in how people relate to unstructured time. Some people find it deeply restorative with no friction at all. The pattern described here is most pronounced in people whose lives have been heavily shaped by external structure, productivity norms, or high-achievement environments. It is a pattern, not a universal law. It is also worth being clear about what this does not mean. This is not an argument that modern life is uniquely damaging, or that previous generations had a healthier relationship with leisure. The historical record suggests that humans have always found ways to make rest feel complicated. What may be different now is the degree to which constant connectivity and the visibility of other people's productivity amplify the internal pressure. But the underlying psychology is not new. What is perhaps most quietly significant about this is what it says about the gap between what people expect free time to feel like and what it actually feels like when it arrives. Most people carry a mental image of rest as peaceful, easy, and automatically restorative. When the reality does not match that image, they tend to blame themselves. They assume they are doing rest wrong, that they are too wired, too anxious, or not present enough. What the research actually suggests is that they are responding in a way that is deeply consistent with how their minds have been trained to function. The discomfort of free time is not a flaw in you. It is information about the relationship your mind has developed with structure, with goals, and with the idea of what time is supposed to be for. That relationship did not form overnight, and noticing it does not dissolve it. But there is something worth sitting with in the recognition that when rest feels hard, the difficulty is not evidence that you are failing at something. It is evidence that your mind is doing exactly what it has learned to do, and that, perhaps, is the most honest place to leave this. Not with a solution, not with a technique, but with the quiet acknowledgement that the experience of free time telling you something feels wrong is one of the more common and least discussed aspects of contemporary adult life. You are not alone in it, and understanding it, even slightly better than before, is its own kind of clarity.